So welcome to another YouTube video. This has been a pretty standard week. So it is week 2 of the block, 2 out of 4, when week 4 will land on comp. So I think the only things that have changed this week is I have had to move my days around slightly. So I did my usual Tuesday session, and then I had my Wednesday closer grip and accessory day. And then rather than doing SBD Saturday, I did have to move that to Friday just because I was away this weekend. So that was the only change that I had to make. All things considered, it has been a really good week. So if we just take a look at Tuesday's session first. So Tuesday's squat and bench day, really standard session. So I did my 5x3 with 130 this week. I was hoping for an RP of around 6 to 7, and these definitely were around that. Every single set felt really comfortable. Because it is multiple sets at the same weight, obviously by the end they're going to feel harder. But I gauged the RP by the fact that the 5th set still felt below an RP 7. So they were on target for what I needed. It's just my secondary squat day, so these aren't supposed to be heavy in any way. The only thing that I have sort of changed with my squat this week and my last session of last week, which I forgot to mention, was the way I hold the bar. So my grip is slightly wider because rather than actually fully gripping the bar with my hand, I'm kind of trying to just wedge it in with that bottom part of my hand and my back. Now this is just to take some pressure off of my wrist because I do get wrist pain, not while I'm training, but throughout the night. And I think it is linked to squats and bench. So I'm just trialing this, and to be honest, it still felt really solid. And actually I did film one set from the side, and if anything, my bar path looks a little bit more consistent as well. So I'm just going to stick with that for a little bit longer and see how that goes the next few sessions. Obviously not ideal changing it this close to comp, but it doesn't feel any worse. So I'm just going to see what happens. Then I moved on to my 2 count bench day. So I had my last one up here at 90 kilos, or 95, sorry. And it moved exactly as I would expect it to, really comfortably. The only thing at the moment is the bench at home is quite slippery, so that's why I've been doing my top sets and my back offs in my sports bra, because I seem to be sliding out of position when I wear just a t-shirt. So I had 105 for my top single. The pause was probably slightly quicker, as I say every single week, but it moved really, really well. Definitely room to push that still over the next few weeks. Then I went on to my back offs, which was just 4 sets of 5 with 95. Positioning felt really good on these, and I felt really strong going through all of these, so I'm really happy. Bench is definitely feeling in a good spot for competition. I'm feeling a lot more confident about it going into this, so I'm really excited to see what happens on the day. Just a reminder that my comp PB at the moment is 105, and it's looking like my second attempt will probably be higher than that. So really excited for bench on the day. And then I just had my Larsen press after, and I made a point of controlling these on the chest a lot more than I had been previously. And as I said in the last video, I need to start taking my Larsen press more seriously. I don't know if I'm still going to keep it in after comp. I'll decide once comp is done, because I think it might be time to take a little bit of a break from it because I've been doing it so much recently, and just sort of see how my bench responds to not having it there. But overall, it was a really good session and not much else to say. So as you can see, that was a pretty standard session. Nothing to really report on there. And then Wednesday, I did have my closer grip and accessory day. So that was just 4x5 at 85 kilos. Close grip bench. It was really comfortable, really easy session, happy with how that went. And then I had to do my primary day, so my usual SBD Saturday. I did have to move forward to Friday evening because I was away this weekend. So I did that on Friday. I could definitely tell that it was done a day early, like I didn't feel fully recovered for it, but it is a common trend for me every block that week 2 generally feels the worst. And I think a big part of that is the mental thing that I know week 1 is always light. It always feels a little bit rubbish because of the fact I'm still so fatigued from the previous block. But week 2 is when you expect things to start getting better. But I think mentally, because I know week 3 is where it then starts getting heavy again, I have this mental block where I'm like, oh God, can I actually do the weights planned? But I know week 3 will move better than I'm expecting it to, because it happens every single block. Like, it's important to follow trends in training and make notes of them. And this is one thing I've noticed for myself. So Friday, I did it at my SBD day, so let's just take a quick look at how that went. I'll do a voiceover and just report on how things went. So, as mentioned in the previous clip, I did have to move this session forwards a day. It's not ideal, and I don't usually do this, but it was just a one-off for this weekend. The only thing that really affected me was the fact that obviously I'd lost a day or a night's sleep of recovery, and during this week I hadn't been sleeping that well anyway because I'd been so busy. I just didn't have time to get my normal 7 to 8 hours in. So I went into this session definitely not fully recovered, but I'm not too concerned about it. Everything moves as I would expect it to on week 2 anyway. I did 140 for my last warm-up before my top single at 160 that you'll see here. It wasn't until after I'd made that 20 kilo jump that I realised I wasn't meant to be taking a 20 kilo jump. I find squats feel best if I do about a 15 kilo jump to my top single in training, so I kind of regretted that choice, but it still moved fine nonetheless. Like you can see, it's a little bit sticky on that 160 top single, but things never move well on week 2. They just don't, and this is especially the fact that I'd lost out on a full night's sleep as well, and obviously one less day of recovery. So I didn't expect things to be brilliant anyway, but they moved well, considering they moved as well as I expected them to, in all honesty. And then I did my 4x5 with 130, sticking with trying to wedge that bar into my back rather than fully gripping it, as I mentioned in the previous training clip. And it seems to be feeling pretty good, pretty consistent. And I know it's not ideal to change things this close to comp, but this isn't that serious of a comp for me. Like, I'm mostly just doing it for more practice at a higher level or a national level, because I always get in my own head when it gets to a national level or above competition. So I need to just remember that as I go into this. Then moving on to bench, I had 97.5 as my last warm-up, and then my top single was with 107.5 that you will see here. And I did have my mum give me a press command, so I made sure it was to comp standard, and I'm really happy with how it moved. I'm struggling with my foot position when training at home. I think I mentioned this in the last video. The floor, well, I think it's my shoes are the issue. They are a little bit slippery. They've been kind of worn in at the bottom. They've lost a lot of their grip. They're just a cheap pair of shoes, so I need to get some more shoes for benching in. But overall, bench moved really well. My 4x3 at 100 was surprisingly easy. Like, I was so happy with how that went. And then I went on to my last 82.5 3x5, and I made sure to control it off the chest. Again, as I mentioned in the previous training clip, I need to take this variation more seriously, and that's one thing I'm holding myself to for this training block. So overall, bench went really, really well. And then after this, I did get to move on to conventional deadlifts again, which it's so nice being able to deadlift again. It doesn't feel like a completely natural movement. Like, I don't feel like I'm back in the swing of it with deadlifts yet, but it's getting better week on week. I did 150 for my last warm-up, and then jumped 20 kilos up to 170 for my top single. I kind of had to focus for this one. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I also knew that I was perfectly capable of pulling 170. So I went in confident, and it did move pretty well. Like, it was a little bit slow, but again, week 2, I kind of expected it. It's obviously going to be a little bit of work. It's 170, but it still moved really well. Like, it felt really comfortable. I probably could have got another 2 to 3 reps out, so I'm really happy with that. And then I just did some light back offs, 150, 3 sets of 3, just to keep getting that skill practice in, since I'm quite unconditioned for deadlifts at the moment. So overall, really happy with the session. So as you can see, Friday's session was kind of absolutely fine. The weights moved reasonably well. Again, week 2, they never feel as good as I would want them to, but that is a regular trend for me. So I'm really happy with how things went this week. Got my accessory day today, Sunday, so that's the only thing left to do. Because I was away yesterday and I didn't get back until midday today, I wasn't able to track my food yesterday because I ended up having, I went out for dinner because we couldn't get an Airbnb close enough to the venue that we had to go to that was cheap enough to be worth doing. So I did probably go over my food a little bit because the place we went didn't really have any good options, but I'm not concerned. I'm weighing about 2 kilos over my category at the moment. I'm sitting about high 85s, low 86s, still comfortably close enough to my category not to have to worry. But I will probably talk more about my nutrition on the week of comp because I won't have too much to film that week. So I will keep you updated on everything to do with nutrition, body weight, leading into comp. But for now, that is probably everything for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's nothing else to really report on. It's been a pretty standard week. I will see you next week for the next one. And if you've made it this far, please like the video, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Talking me plus show.